a place which has intrigued historians, tourists, and treasure hunters over centuries. However, Egypt, the country of pharaohs, and pyramids, and secrets beneath the sand, half the earth has covered. There are also some really crazy, mind-shattering facts lurking behind the well-known pyramids and mummies, and these facts few people have ever heard of. Since weird old traditions to weird historical miseries, now we are plunging into the top 10 shocking facts about Egypt. Linger on, as the last one is to alter forever the way you will think about the ancient civilization. 10. The pyramids used to shine when white. Majority of the individuals think of the pyramids as enormous golden brown buildings, though initially they were coated with polished white limestone. They would have burned like huge jewels in the desert in the scorching sun, glistening in the distance. The casing stones which had formerly mantled the Great Pyramid were cut so accurately that the intersections between them were scarcely noticeable, in places less than a millimeter. 1,000 years ago, as you happened to be standing in the desert, you beheld a blinding white structure that resembled less a pile of block of stone and more like a star of heaven. The limestone casing was removed throughout the centuries, and it was used in constructing mosques and palaces in Cairo. 9. Breath mints were first invented by Egyptians. Bad breath is not a contemporary issue. One of the first recipes that were written about were those of breath mints made by ancient Egyptians. They combined frankincense with cinnamon and honey, rolled it into pellets, and chewed it in order to maintain their breath fresh. But it was not just about smelling good. Fresh breath was spiritual also. Speaking in Egyptian culture was a holy process, and foul mouth was taken to be the reason of God's anger. When reciting prayers, priests who conducted rituals had to make sure that they breathed in a pleasant manner. Their ingredients were not accidental, either because frankincense was associated with purification, whereas cinnamon was believed to be healing. These mints were also used as early medicine, as honey was reputed to be antibacterial. 8. Board games were of use in as the burials of pharaohs. The Senate game, a game of over 5,000 years, was too popular that most pharaohs were buried with the game. It is regarded as one of the oldest board games ever in history, the precursor of your modern game night. Senet was not all fun and games. The Egyptians thought that it was the passage of the soul in the life after death. The symbolism of each move symbolized life struggles and decisions that represented the struggles after death. It was not possible to win the game by mere luck, but demonstrating his or her right to enter the eternal life. The tombs of Tutankhamun and other rulers have been known to be adorned with boards, indicating how serious it was to be taken to eternity. 7. The oldest toe prosthetic in the world. A wooden toe prosthetic, which was attached to a mummy, was found by archaeologists dating back to 3,000 years. It was designed remarkably well, such that it enabled the wearer to walk comfortably. The ancient Egyptians were far ahead of their period in terms of medical innovation. The most interesting thing is that it was functional. The replicas of the toe were tested by researchers on volunteers who lost that part of the body, and it turned out to be quite effective. This artificial footwear was leather-lined and fastened, and had been shaped to precisely fit a sandal, which, again, didn't point to mere medical, but to a sense of culture. Sandals were a standard part of all Egyptian wardrobes. 6. Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian. Cleopatra VII was one of the most legendary leaders in Egypt. She was of Greek descent. She was a member of the dynasty of Ptolemaics, who were a family of Greek rulers that assumed power after the conquest of Alexander the Great. Cleopatra was born in the Greek-founded city of Alexandria and was Greek-speaking. The fact that she was the first in her dynasty to adopt the Egyptian practices and study the indigenous language makes her special. She fashioned herself as the reincarnation of Greek and Egyptian cultures to reinforce her reign by combining the two. Although Hollywood tends to depict her as pure Egyptian, in actual fact she was a cultural hybrid. 5. Cats had legal protection. Cats were not pets only, but were sacred. The death penalty was imposed on the killing of a cat, even accidentally. Families were saddened by the loss of their cats to the extent of shaving their eyebrows. Bastet, the goddess of home, fertility, and protection, was associated with cats. Cats were more than companionship in the house, they were considered a spiritual protection. They were thought to hold evil spirits away, and more practically dangerous things such as snakes and rats. Due to this reason, cats were mummified and buried with much ceremony, and in some cases in colossal cemeteries containing thousands of mummified cats. Even the ancient trade records indicate the export of cats by Egyptians to other parts, and there are reports of soldiers going to war to save captured cats. Their position was so high that hurting one of them could make riots. 4. Pyramid builders were paid with beer. Gorblin, or money, is a relic of the past. Of bread and beer, pyramid builders were often paid. Beer was taken to be of nutritional and hydrational value in the heat of the desert. Workers were paid on an average 4 liters of beer in a day. It was not the robust alcoholic beer that we have today, but rather like a thick, nourishing porridge that gave us energy and calories. Beer played a significant role in the lives of Egyptians, that it was even traded as currency and even offered to gods. The pharaohs toiled laborers with beer, and this guaranteed loyalty as well as productivity. 3. The Egyptian medicine was surprisingly high. Ancient Egyptian doctors practiced dentistry, did surgery, and even stitched the wounds with copper needles. A few of their medical manuals are extant today, with therapies that appear extraordinarily contemporary. The Ebers Papyrus is one of these texts and is a scroll of 110 pages that was created in or around 1550 BCE. It has more than 700 cures of various diseases such as stomach aches to burns. The Egyptians also applied molded bread on infections, a move which predicts the discovery of penicillin thousands of years later. They also implanted fractured bones using splints, and also had an early form of dentistry by drilling holes. What is more interesting is that medicine was associated with science as well as religion. 2. Egyptians loved wigs. Men and women usually had shaved heads and wigs. It was not only the fashionable thing to do, it kept them cool and did not allow lice to crawl on them in the warm weather. Human hair, wool of the sheep, or even plant fiber was used to construct a wig, and it was fashioned in various patterns that were elaborate based on the social status. Richer Egyptians were able to afford more costly wigs with gold beads and perfumes, and also elaborate braiding, and less prosperous residents used simpler ones. Even priests had their heads shaved completely at all times, and at times the priests too wore wigs on religious occasions. In addition to utility, the wigs were also a sign of social standing. The larger and more adorned, the better the status. 1. Mysterious disappearance of Nefertiti. Nefertiti is one of the most popular queens of Egypt, and she disappeared without any predecessor. She has never been found in her tomb, and archaeologists continue their attempts to get some answers even centuries later. Nefertiti was the queen, and she dominated with her husband Akhenaten in a religious revolution as Egypt temporarily forgot her traditional gods and instead paid homage to one deity, the sun disk Aten. She was described as being beyond ordinary power, which was almost as equal to her husband, and scholars have suggested that she could have been ruling Egypt herself, but under a different name. However, after that, she just vanished. Research hypothesizes that she was killed, and some others posit that her position was obliterated by the political opponents, and some have even gone further to say that her mummy could have been found long ago but misidentified. Egypt can be described as a treasure box of history, filled with surprises as these weird facts have demonstrated. What was the most shocking fact that you learned? Tell us in the comments, and in case you like reading strange tales of people worldwide, do not forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Keep exploring, keep it weirdly global.